Hello, everyone, and welcome to Southeastern 14. I am Blayne Gilmer here to talk SEC football with you once again. Yes, it is the off season, but there's always stuff going on, and now it is about scheduling. Texas and Oklahoma are soon to make their way into the Southeastern Conference, and we'll go here from Southeastern 14 to Southeastern 16, as there will be 16 teams in this league. And guys, we're talking about a report that was put out by Dellenger of Sports Illustrated, talking about permanent opponents as the SEC with these 16 teams will move to a 9-game schedule. This is something that the Big Ten has done for a long time, but the Big Ten has held divisions. The SEC would be scrapping divisions, getting rid of those altogether. So there would be a different way of coming to a conference championship game. Will there even be a conference championship game? All that yet to be determined, because it is pretty much accepted that once the NCAA or the college football playoff goes to the 12-team format, as it will in 2024, then there's going to be multiple SEC teams in it every year. And you're talking about the number of games it takes. You're talking about player exposures, player safety, all this kind of stuff that people talk about. Well, it could take potentially up to 17 games with conference championships. So who knows? Will conference championships even remain in play? One thing we have been able to see is these leaked permanent opponents that are they're not set in stone yet, but this is what Ross Dellenger and some people behind the scenes are kind of hearing in terms of, okay, who could each of these teams play every single year while also trying to keep some competitive balance. So without further ado, let's go ahead and throw those on the screen right here. Right off the bat, you see some of the storied rivalries trying to be held in place here. Auburn and Alabama, the Iron Bowl is still there. Okay, Georgia, Florida is still there. You see LSU, Florida is gone. LSU, Florida play each other every year. Their crossover game. Some of those crossover games are gone. I mean, a game that didn't really make much sense as a crossover game, Texas A&M, South Carolina, that's gone, which I think that's a good thing on that one. You've got South Carolina facing 3 teams that are current SEC East teams in Kentucky, Florida, Tennessee that are in there. Look at Auburn. Auburn, we mentioned they have to face Alabama still every year with the Iron Bowl. They yet also have to face Georgia. You're talking about, if you're looking at winning percentage over the last 3 seasons, Auburn has to play Alabama with a 90.24 winning percentage over the last 3 seasons, Georgia with a 92.5 winning percentage over the last 3 seasons. So it makes a lot of sense that they throw Vanderbilt in there for them with a 21.21 winning percentage over the last 3 seasons. But still, if you look at it like this, just on the surface, whichever grouping you're looking at, LSU is the one that is facing the opponents that have the highest average winning percentage over the last 3 seasons. Texas A&M, Ole Miss, Alabama, an average 72.33. Now that's brought up tremendously by Alabama's 90.24 right there. But even Texas A&M and Ole Miss, 62.86 and 63.89 winning percentage for both of those over the last 3 seasons. So LSU has the highest average winning percentage they would have to face out of these permanent opponents based on what teams have done over the last 3 years. Florida has the second highest, as the Gators would take on Georgia, South Carolina, and Oklahoma. Now, of course, Oklahoma's winning percentage is largely derived based off of, what they've been doing out in the Big 12. Thoughts on this? I don't know that. I guess it's going to solve the problem in terms of, okay, people talk about how it's 10, 11 years in the league now for Texas A&M. Georgia has yet to be out there for a game at College Station. And I think, that's one thing people are kind of upset about, right, is that there's just so many times like LSU, Kentucky. I think that was a deal where that LSU hadn't been to Lexington for quite some time until they had done so a couple of years ago. I don't know that even if you're going to rotate like that, those 6 games, okay, you got to determine how many teams are going to get if there's 9 conference games, you got to determine a way to fairly say, okay, this team gets 5 home games, this team gets 4 home games this year, keep that in balance. There's a lot that goes into the scheduling here. I think the most important thing for a lot of people is keeping some of these rivalries alive. Nick Saban has brought up some concerns. He's like, okay, so you're giving Alabama, Auburn, Tennessee, and LSU. He doesn't see how that's quite fair. Why? There's lots of people that don't really care much of what Nick Saban is complaining about or anything like that. Because listen, Alabama has risen themselves to a level where nobody's going to feel sorry for Bama in any scenario whatsoever. Because guess what? Everybody that has Alabama in their group of 3 right there, whether that's Tennessee, like we said, whether that's Ole Miss, not an easy deal that they have to deal with either. They've got the 4th highest winning percentage they would have to face in the group of 3 here, that in their permanent group, 67.02 winning percentage combined between Mississippi State, LSU, and Alabama. Listen, the trajectory of these programs is something that everybody needs to keep in mind as well. So we're talking about Georgia, who has won back-to-back national championships, has kind of surpassed Alabama as that marquee team in the SEC, at least over the last 3 seasons here. And then when you talk about Texas and Oklahoma coming into the league, they're bringing an entirely different brand into this conference. How will they adjust early on? Texas A&M, you saw, they had some success early on. They've had a couple of good years, but man, it's been some struggles for the Aggies and Jimbo Fisher as of late. Now you're going to have kind of that Southwestern footprint there, if you will, even if you want to include Arkansas in that, going all the way out to Texas A&M, Oklahoma. So you've got kind of a different feel to this conference as you come through there. Would love to know what you guys think of these permanent opponents. Listen, Arkansas, like I said, not an easy deal for them over there. Typically in the West, anybody that plays in the West, Auburn, Arkansas, Mississippi State, it's just been murderer's row type deal that you have to face year in and year out in the West. And there's people complain that the West for so long has been so much better than the East. Well, look at this now, guys. You talk about in terms of easiest groups of 3 permanent 3 opponents here in this 9-game schedule. The one that has the lowest winning percentage that they would face would be Missouri, because Oklahoma, Arkansas, Vanderbilt, that's an average of 48.09 winning percentage right there between those 3 teams. But Arkansas and Alabama aren't far behind with 56.08, 54.1 winning percentage that they would have to face on average going there between those 3 opponents. So it's all going to come down to, okay, yes, these are the 3 opponents, and some people may not be happy with if these do end up being official, who they have to face year in and year out. I know that Georgia fans will probably be pretty happy about keeping the cocktail party, whether that remains in Jacksonville or not, who knows. I think that needs to go home and home, especially going to a 9-game conference schedule. Auburn, the Deep South Oldest rivalry, that's a big one to keep. The Kentucky-Georgia rivalry, I don't know that that's even a real rivalry, so to speak, so I don't know why that is necessarily selected there. I think South Carolina would probably make more sense for Georgia to face each year. Don't know if they're just trying to, since they paired Florida and Tennessee in there as well, I don't know if they're just trying to, change things up in terms of, okay, who would South Carolina face as that third team in there? But all of this stuff has so many layers to it. Like I said, who gets the extra home game each year? What did the travel rotations look like in terms of, okay, there's not going to be divisions. How do we keep it balanced to where a team doesn't go, 10, 15 years without having to go to another team's place? Like Georgia has still not been to Texas A&M, to College Station, as I pointed out earlier in this video. So guys, would love to know your thoughts on these permanent teams. Go ahead and like, subscribe, turn on notifications, leave comments. Tell us what you think about the permanent opponents that are being reported out there by Ross Dellenger, by Sports Illustrated. I don't know that people are going to be very happy maybe with some of the rivalries, year in, year out rivalries being lost. Like, what happens if these aren't the official and Alabama and Tennessee end up not playing every year? Or, these people who really enjoyed going from Gainesville, Florida out to Baton Rouge every year, and Baton Rouge to Gainesville, Florida, just the traditions that there were out there. And also, listen, how can you have Texas in the league? Okay, how can you have Texas in the league and not have them face one of the, I guess, more top tier? They've got Oklahoma, they've got Texas A&M. You're telling me you don't want to see, after what happened in Austin, Texas last year, and what's going to happen in Tuscaloosa this year, Texas and Alabama face each other year in, year out, two of the biggest brands in all of football? I think that's kind of a miscue there to see what's going on. I do think Texas and Oklahoma remaining to face each other is a good deal by the SEC, if this is indeed how it goes. For Southeastern 14, guys, I am Blayne Gilmer. Make sure you check out the channel for everything SEC. We've got bracketology going on. The SEC tournament gets kicked up tomorrow in basketball. You have baseball in full swing, as baseball games will be going Wednesday. Chris Lee, Blake Love will cover all of that. There's a great team out there pumping out content on social media as well. You can follow me on Twitter using @BGilmer18, as you see there in the bottom corner. Check out Brothrow, check out Aura. You can see that scrolling across the bottom, and appreciate everybody tuning in. Like I said, like, subscribe, turn on notifications. We'll catch you next time on Southeastern 14.